So part of the Big Beaver build is we are going to start cleaning up the steel to weld onto the main frame. So we just cut these. This is the first uprights. These are the 1/8 wall steel, 2x3. So we're gonna basically wipe it down with some acetone. We're gonna wear some good gloves for that. Come through, grind up the edges, take the coating off, acetone it one more time, and then we'll get to welding. We have our chemical resistant gloves here. We have our acetone, we have some paper towels. You can use old t-shirts, shop rags if you got them. We're currently out of rags, so we're using paper towels until the next delivery comes. And then also, when I get done with the acetone, I'm going to clean up the coating on these edges. Got my hearing protection, safety glasses, grinder. Whenever you're working with this type of stuff, make sure you're wearing your PPE. So I like to use mainly rags, but since we don't have any, these paper towels will work. A liberal amount of acetone. The idea here is we're removing all the oil that gets applied to the steel when it's at the mill. The reason for that is, one, it's a mess to work with. You know, you get this oil, say you're wearing your leather welding gloves and you haven't cleaned the oil on the rest of this. You clean the edges, right, you're ready to weld, but all this is, say, still covered in oil. That's getting all over your leather welding gloves. Now the issue with that is, now you're gonna contaminate, you're gonna get oil saturated into your leather, and you're gonna be touching your welds, you're gonna be weld surfaces anyway, you're gonna be kind of touching everything, and you're gonna contaminate your nice, clean, prepped surface. So give steel a nice wipe down. You know, when it starts to look clean like that, you know you've removed the majority of the oil. Go over it one more time just to make sure we're good. I mean, also when you're working on projects like this, you want to, you know, take account of steel cleaning time. Like a lot of people will just start a project, say, oh yeah, it's gonna take me a week, and then just the cleaning process alone could take a week, depending on how big the project is. You know, how many pieces you have to clean. That's clean. So I'm gonna take my acetone, I'm gonna seal it up. I'm gonna take these wet rags, I'm gonna throw them over here in the sun so they're out of the way and they dry fast. Last thing you wanna do is be using a grinder or a welder anywhere near flammable substances. And I got just a standard plug-in Milwaukee angle grinder. I'm using number 40 grit wheels. I'm using really light pressure just to kind of buff out the coating, and then I'll come back with the acetone again. And always remember, like when you're doing this kind of work, you want to make sure you're wearing your PPE, because you only get one set of eyes and one set of ears. Now that the steel has been cleaned, the ends prepped, I like to come back. You know, I come from a sanitary welding background, you know, breweries, dairies, that type of stainless steel sanitary pipe welding, and there is no room to not be completely clean. Like, so basically you want everything, and this might be like overkill to some people for what I'm building here, but even you guys who ever, you know, welded on a dirty piece of steel and you get that contamination in there, some people are okay with living with that, but it's just so much easier to do the prep work first and then have a nice clean weld, and then you're done. Because yeah, like a dirty weld, especially like in a sanitary tube application, all that's gonna do is create a harbor for bacteria and stuff, and then also the structural integrity of the weld just won't be there. So again, yeah, we're building a habitat for the back of Buford, so sanitary isn't really the number one thing, but I do want this to be a very strong build. I do want the structure to be rock solid, so the prep work first will really help with, you know, the adhesion, the weld quality, and everything else. Plus just the presentable quality, like when somebody's looking at your weld and you've got like a really nice weld there, as opposed to a bunch of like splatter, you know, like you can really, the prep work will really help your final product look that much better.